Hello, welcome to Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. I am Robert, the narrator, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Confessions. Well, this episode of Confessions, I asked the question, what do you do with a player like Mr. Crunchy? I will explain. So, I have been running Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. I've been playing games with my local group, the guys that I have been in the hobby with for 30 plus years. We hadn't gotten a chance to sit at the same table for over a year because of all of the craziness going on. So we decided, hey, why don't we have GMs run different games for 10 weeks and then pass it on to another game master. The first game we did was D6 Star Wars by Decipher Games, and the second game is my Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition game that at this point I've been running for 5 or 6 weeks. So I will be doing a review of Vampire 5th edition, but I will also be doing episodes like this where I talk about, I drill down and talk about topics that have come up during running the games. And this topic is kind of an oldie but goodie. I really haven't had to deal with this before. So one of my longtime friends that I've been in the hobby with forever, and who will go nameless, but we will just call him Mr. Crunchy. I haven't had to deal with this particular opportunity in a long time. So this is the opportunity. Just to kind of give you an example of my friend, Mr. Crunchy. He is definitely an optimizer. Some would may even call him an optimizer on steroids. He looks at role-playing games as a problem to be solved. He definitely, I think, feels like the relationship between player and GM is an adversarial relationship. And I think that he believes that the game master is out to get him and he doesn't want to be got. So he approaches role playing like that, like a problem to be solved. And kind of to give you an example from many years ago, when I was running Mutants and Masterminds 3rd edition for my local group, Mr. Crunchy made an incredibly interesting character. He made a character who was a speedster, able to move really quickly like the Flash or like Quicksilver. And he made his character so that by the points restrictions, literally, his character couldn't have any more movement than it had. It's not possible by the points restriction. So he maxed out his movement so that he could move multiple yards, multiple city blocks from cover into combat, attack an opponent, and move several city blocks away back into cover. Then what he did was he gave his character the maximum allowable stealth. So literally, by points restrictions, his stealth couldn't have been a single point higher. And then what he did finally for the cherry on top of this very crunchy build, he gave his character a feat, and I forget what the name of the feat was, but essentially the idea of the feat was it was kind of like the Batman thing. If you've ever seen a Batman movie or a Batman cartoon, Commissioner Gordon will look away for a second but still be talking to Batman, and then when Commissioner Gordon looks back, Batman is completely gone, and Gordon is, oh, he's done it again. So it's that feat. Essentially, what the feat allows you to do is even if someone is looking at your character, if cover is within your move, you can move to cover and make a stealth check and be stealth so they don't have any idea of where you are. That's what the feat allows you to do. So I think you see where this is going. So what Mr. Crunchy would do is his speedster would run from a great distance away from cover into combat, attack the enemy, make a stealth check to move several city blocks away and into cover so he can't be found. So as you can imagine, this character was incredibly difficult to deal with all of the movement, the highest stealth that you can get, and a feat that says, hey, even if you're looking at me, I'm going to run several city blocks away into cover and get a stealth check so you have no idea where I am. So that is the kind of characters that Mr. Crunchy will make. And after many years of us not being able to be at the same table, Mr. Crunchy has struck again in our vampire game. And essentially, what he has done in the 5th edition vampire game is he has made a billionaire vampire character who never leaves the protection of his mansion or his the headquarters of his corporation, who feeds off of bags of blood, so he never has to go out and hunt. And essentially, when the rest of the coterie goes out to do something, he is a tech billionaire, a hacker. So he communicates with the rest of the party using radio communications and convinces the guys to wear cameras so he can see what's going on. So his character is always sequestered away, never having to deal with hunting or getting hungry as a vampire or the other dangers that are in the world of darkness for vampires, because he almost never leaves the protection of his maxed out haven, which is his mansion or the headquarters of his corporation. So how do you deal with a player or a character in Vampire who doesn't want to participate because of the type of character that he has built? So this is more of a interesting inquiry, just an interesting conversation that I'm having here, because I have figured out ways to challenge his character. For example, I won't mention a lot in case any of the guys watch this video, but one weakness that this build that Mr. Crunchy has made is particularly vulnerable to magic. So in Vampire, of course, you have the Tremere, who are the spell casting vampire clan. So their weaknesses, he only has one in occult, so he can be challenged by magic. So I have definitely figured out ways to challenge his character. The other thing is that in Vampire 5th edition, and maybe in previous editions of the game, also, I don't recall, though I've played previous editions, the intelligence agencies of the world know that vampires exist, and they are obviously hunting them, and they have shut down bank accounts or websites of vampires in the past and used hacking and electronics to assist them and the humans' intelligence agencies to hunt down vampires. So vampires have shied away from modern technology and are really inconvenienced because they don't want to use the web or use the internet because of humans' ability to track them down through those means. So that is another challenge. If you're playing a tech billionaire who's a hacker who only wants to interact with the world through the internet, if you come across a vampire who is a nemesis that you need to deal with, you're not going to be able to hack them, because again, vampires in the current edition, at least of Vampire the Masquerade, have shunned technology, so you can't spy on them through the internet. So that's another weakness that this character has. So this video is not really about what do you do, because I have found ways to challenge this incredibly unique build in the game. But my question to you is, just to keep it a little more interesting, would you allow such a difficult character to deal with, like in the example of the Mutants and Masterminds game or the 5th edition Vampire game? Would you even allow in your game a player to make such a difficult character to deal with? Or what other tactics would you use to deal with Mr. Crunchy? And have you ever had a Mr. Crunchy to this level of the two examples that I've given you in your game as a game master or as a player? And what did you do about it? How did it feel? Please, talk about it in the comments. Let me know if you would even allow this player in your game or these types of really difficult characters. And thanks a lot for checking out this video, this little interesting topic. that I've come across again with my local group, and appreciate you checking out the video. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever and wherever you are watching this video. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later.